The 19-year-old alien princess humiliated him, and the human left without looking back. Liam Carter had never seen a place like Zithera. The spaceport stretched as far as the eye could see, a glittering network of landing bays, hovering transports, and structures that seemed to float on invisible forces. Aliens of every imaginable form moved gracefully across the platforms, their skin shimmering in colors that Liam had no names for. Some had elongated limbs, others had multiple eyes or wings, but all moved with an elegance and confidence he had never witnessed on Earth. He gripped the handle of his luggage a little tighter, feeling the hum of nerves in his chest. He was here on a diplomatic mission, a human engineer chosen to observe, assist, and if luck favored him, prove that humans could hold their own among advanced alien civilizations. At 19, he had studied tirelessly, learning alien languages, technologies, and even their social customs. Yet nothing had prepared him for the reality of standing in a place that felt both alive and impossibly sophisticated. First impressions matter, Liam muttered to himself, smoothing his jacket. He adjusted the small translator in his ear, making sure it was still functioning. If there was one thing humans could do, it was adapt quickly. But right now, adaptation seemed a distant dream. He walked toward the palace shuttle, his boots clanging softly against the metallic platform. The shuttle itself was a marvel, sleek and elegant, humming softly as it prepared for liftoff. As Liam climbed inside, he couldn't help but feel that he was being watched. Perhaps he was. The planet's residents seemed to have a natural curiosity about outsiders, and he felt the weight of their eyes on him. Inside the shuttle, Liam tried to calm his nerves by reviewing the briefing one more time. The royal family would meet him personally, and the key figure was Princess Cerelia, the 19-year-old heir to Zithera's throne. Brilliant, sharp, and rumored to be as proud as she was intelligent. His orders were simple: be respectful, answer honestly, and avoid making mistakes that could reflect poorly on humans. That last one felt impossible. Mistakes were human nature, after all. When the shuttle landed in the palace courtyard, Liam's breath caught. The palace was unlike any structure he had seen. Towering spires reflected the pale light of Zithera's twin suns, and holographic images shimmered in the air around it, displaying symbols of ancient victories and interstellar alliances. Guards, humanoid but with shimmering metallic skin, flanked the entrance, their movements precise and almost rhythmic. He stepped out cautiously, trying to look confident. Confidence was half the battle when meeting aliens who had mastered technology centuries before humans had even set foot in space. A guide approached him, sleek and blue-skinned, with 4 eyes that blinked independently. "Human Liam Carter?" the guide asked, voice melodic yet firm. "Yes," Liam said, trying to hide the quiver in his tone. "I'm here for the diplomatic meeting with Princess Cerelia." The guide nodded and gestured for him to follow. They passed through towering doors, and Liam felt a strange mix of awe and intimidation. Every wall, every surface, seemed alive with faint light, shifting images and symbols he could barely comprehend. Finally, he was led into a grand hall. At the far end, standing on a slightly raised platform, was Princess Cerelia. She was taller than he had expected, with skin that glowed faintly in the soft light. Her hair floated gently, as if caught in a breeze that did not exist, and her eyes were sharp, almost piercing, colored like polished emeralds. She studied him as he approached, her gaze unwavering. "Human," she said, her voice calm but carrying a weight that made Liam straighten his back immediately. "You are far from your home world. Tell me, why should we believe that your kind can contribute anything meaningful here?" Liam swallowed, trying to steady himself. "Princess Cerelia, I have trained extensively to understand your technology and culture. I am here to assist in any way that I can. My intention is to learn from you, and also to offer human insights that may benefit Zithera." Cerelia raised an eyebrow, a subtle movement that conveyed both curiosity and skepticism. "Insights, you say? You are young, human, very young, and yet you believe you can stand among centuries of Zitheran expertise." Liam forced a confident smile. "I believe that every mind, no matter its origin, can offer value. If given the opportunity, I hope to prove that humans are capable." She tilted her head, eyes narrowing slightly. "Opportunity, him?" She stepped closer, and Liam noticed how the hall seemed to react to her presence. Lights pulsed softly in sync with her movements. "Very well, let us test this theory. Show me the calculations for the propulsion module you were assigned." I am told you have studied our systems carefully. Let us see if your understanding is accurate. Liam reached into his bag and pulled out a small holopad, activating it with trembling hands. Lines of complex equations and schematics hovered in the air. He explained the principles, demonstrating how he would improve the system's efficiency using human-designed modifications. He spoke carefully, making sure his alien translator conveyed every term correctly. For a moment, there was silence. Liam dared to hope that she might nod in approval. Then, without warning, Ceralia's expression shifted. She stepped closer, her voice ringing clear and sharp. "Human, your calculations are flawed. You have misread the energy conversion ratios by a factor of 3. Do you expect us to trust this system based on such elementary errors?" The words hit Liam like a cold shock. He had double-checked the numbers, triple-checked the formulas. Yet in her eyes, he saw absolute certainty that he had failed. I must have," he began, but she cut him off. "Enough," she said, her tone slicing through the hall. "This is why humans are considered reckless and inexperienced. Your kind may dream of knowledge, but you stumble over what should be simple. Leave us before you embarrass yourself further." A wave of humiliation washed over him. The murmurs of the alien aides and advisors felt like needles pressing into his mind. He had prepared for rejection, for skepticism, but not for such open, public humiliation. He clenched his fists, feeling a mix of anger, frustration, and disbelief. Liam turned sharply and walked toward the exit, his head held high despite the burning shame. He would not beg for approval, would not grovel. His pride, human and stubborn, demanded he leave on his own terms. He felt eyes on his back, the princess's gaze following him, but he refused to look back. Outside, the air felt fresher somehow. The noise of the spaceport and the bustling aliens reached his ears, grounding him. He leaned against a railing, taking a deep breath, trying to calm the storm of emotions inside him. The humiliation burned, but beneath it was a spark, determination. He would not let this define him. Humans had survived impossible odds, adapted to worlds they had no business inhabiting, and invented solutions no one else could imagine. He could do the same here. As the sun reflected off the floating towers of Zithera, Liam's mind began to work. He analyzed the propulsion system again, identifying areas where human ingenuity might offer a solution. He considered principles of physics his alien counterparts might have overlooked, ways to combine energy efficiency with adaptive design. Every humiliation he had endured became fuel for thought, every scornful glance a reminder of the challenge ahead. Later that evening, Liam found a quiet corner in the bustling academy district. Hollow screens floated around him, displaying schematics, star maps, and technological archives. He pored over them, scribbling notes, making connections, and testing calculations in his mind. Hours passed, but he barely noticed. Humans were known for their persistence, and he embodied it now more than ever. He knew the road ahead would not be easy. Princess Ceralia was brilliant, proud, and respected by every Zitheran engineer he had met. To earn even a shred of acknowledgement from her, he would need to surpass his own limits. But Liam felt ready. The sting of humiliation had awakened something within him, a desire not just to prove himself, but to show that humanity had a place among the stars, even if no one yet believed it. As night fell over Zithera, the twin moons casting silvery shadows across the city, Liam made a silent promise to himself. He would return not for recognition, not for praise, but to show that humans could rise, adapt, and excel where others doubted them. And when that day came, he would walk back into that palace not as a nervous outsider, but as a capable engineer whose mind could rival the greatest of Zithera. For now, he left the palace district behind, blending into the throngs of aliens and humans alike in the bustling city. The humiliation had passed, replaced by determination and purpose. Liam Carter had been dismissed today, but he would not be forgotten, not by himself, and not by the stars. He was determined to conquer. Liam Carter spent the next morning in a small workshop tucked away in the lower levels of Zithera's academy district. The hum of alien machinery surrounded him, a constant reminder that he was far from home. Everywhere he looked, devices of unimaginable complexity whirred and floated in midair, operated by engineers with multiple limbs and eyes that moved independently. It was overwhelming, yet invigorating. This was the place where he could prove his worth. He pulled out his holopad and opened the schematics of the starship propulsion system. The project was already considered a crisis by Zitharan engineers. The Interstellar Alliance mission, a coalition of planets working together for exploration and trade, depended on this ship's success. If the propulsion system failed, the mission would be delayed, or worse, compromised entirely. Liam's human mind worked differently from the aliens. While Zitharans relied heavily on centuries of established calculations and conventional designs, Liam saw patterns they overlooked. He noticed that the energy conversion ratios could be adjusted more efficiently using a feedback loop that Zitharans had dismissed as unstable. His heart raced with excitement. This was the perfect chance to apply human ingenuity and maybe, just maybe, show that humans had something valuable to offer. Despite his determination, Liam knew he would face resistance. The palace had humiliated him in front of Princess Cerelia, and the alien engineers respected her judgment above all else. If word reached her that he was attempting a redesign, they would likely dismiss him outright, yet he refused to be discouraged. He had come here to learn and to contribute, and he would find a way. He began experimenting, combining Zitharan designs with human concepts of efficiency. He created small models of the propulsion system in the workshop, running simulations and testing modifications. Each time he encountered failure, he adjusted his calculations, learning from mistakes in real time. Humans had always survived by adapting, and adaptation was Liam's greatest strength. Word of his work spread quietly through the academy. A few curious engineers stopped by to observe, whispering among themselves. Some looked skeptical, others intrigued. No one, however, had the authority to formally approve his designs. That recognition could only come from Princess Cerelia herself, and Liam knew approaching her directly would be both dangerous and humiliating if she dismissed him again. Days passed in a rhythm of problem-solving and experimentation. Liam slept little, spending his nights surrounded by floating schematics and glowing panels. Every calculation, every adjustment, was a step toward proving that human thinking could complement Zitharan technology. Finally, he had a working prototype of the modified propulsion system. It was smaller, more efficient, and capable of adapting to changes in energy flow faster than the standard Zitharan design. Liam knew that testing it would require the cooperation of the Academy, something he did not yet have. He made his decision. At dawn, he would present the design to a small group of engineers who had shown curiosity rather than disdain. It was a risk. If they rejected him, the humiliation could be worse than the palace incident. But the potential reward, the chance to save the interstellar mission and earn a measure of respect, was too great to ignore. The morning sun rose over Zithara, casting long, pale beams across the Academy district. Liam carried his prototype to the testing chamber, a vast room filled with holographic sensors and floating test platforms. A small crowd of engineers gathered, their eyes curious but guarded. Liam's hands did not tremble as he placed the prototype on the platform and activated it. The device hummed to life, glowing softly as energy flowed through the system. He watched closely, noting fluctuations and adjusting settings. For the first few minutes, nothing dramatic happened, and some engineers whispered that it would fail. But then the propulsion system stabilized, energy flows optimized perfectly, and the output exceeded Zitharan standards. A hush fell over the room. Liam exhaled slowly, a mix of relief and pride flooding him. The prototype worked. Humans could create solutions even in an alien context. One engineer stepped forward, speaking in careful tones. "Your design, it is unconventional, human, but it is functional. Perhaps there is merit in your approach." Encouraged, Liam explained the modifications, emphasizing how human adaptability and experimentation had led to the improvements. Some engineers nodded, others frowned, clearly reluctant to admit that a human had contributed something valuable. Word of the successful prototype quickly reached the palace. Princess Cerelia, hearing that Liam had dared to attempt a redesign, felt a mixture of curiosity and irritation. She had dismissed him before, but the rumors hinted at results she could not ignore. She decided to observe the next demonstration personally. When she arrived, Liam was tense but composed. He knew she would scrutinize every detail, every gesture, and every word. The testing chamber was filled with engineers, both alien and human, all eager to see whether the human could back up his claims. "Human!" Cerelia's voice rang clear, carrying over the hum of the machinery. I hear you have attempted modifications without approval. Explain yourself. Liam met her gaze calmly. Princess, the propulsion system is critical for the Alliance mission. I observed inefficiencies in the standard design and created a prototype that optimizes energy flow while maintaining stability. I believed it could help, and I was willing to risk failure to test it. Ceralia's eyes narrowed. You risk humiliation again. I am aware, Liam said, his voice steady, but I also believe that humans can contribute solutions even when others doubt them. She studied him for a long moment, silent and unreadable. Then she gestured for the demonstration to continue. Liam activated the prototype again. Energy flowed through the system smoothly, power output consistent, efficiency improved. Engineers murmured in surprise and approval. Ceralia's expression softened slightly, though she did not show it openly. Your methods are different, she said, choosing her words carefully, and yet the results cannot be ignored. For Liam, it was a small victory, but it meant more than that. It meant that he had begun to prove the potential of humanity, even in a world far beyond Earth. He felt the spark of recognition, subtle but undeniable, yet the work was far from over. The full propulsion system had to be implemented on the starship, tested under extreme conditions, and verified for interstellar travel. Skeptical engineers would undoubtedly scrutinize every detail, searching for flaws. Liam knew that the coming weeks would demand every ounce of ingenuity, patience, and courage he possessed. He spent long hours working with a small team of engineers willing to experiment, blending human creativity with zither and precision. Progress was slow, but each step forward strengthened his confidence. He learned their methods, adapted them to human logic, and in turn, they began to see value in perspectives they had once dismissed. Even Princess Ceralia watched from a distance. She rarely intervened, but her presence was a constant reminder of the high stakes. Liam did not need her approval, yet he could not deny the impact of her observation. Her pride was immense, and any acknowledgement from her would be more meaningful than words from any other engineer. One evening, as Liam reviewed energy flow simulations, one of the alien engineers approached him. Human, your method is unconventional, the engineer said, voice hesitant. But I see the results. Perhaps humans have a gift for seeing what others overlook. Liam smiled faintly. Thank you. We adapt, we experiment, and we keep trying. Failure is part of the process. The engineer nodded slowly, perhaps realizing that persistence and creativity were indeed valuable traits, even among a species as advanced as the Zitherans. As the days turned into weeks, the prototype grew more refined. Each test strengthened the design, each adjustment proving the worth of human thinking. Liam's reputation quietly grew among engineers willing to observe and learn. He was still an outsider, still young, but increasingly respected for his skill, determination, and ingenuity. Finally, the day arrived for a major test, implementing the human-modified propulsion system on the actual starship. The vessel loomed in the docking bay, massive and imposing, filled with technology that humans could barely comprehend. Liam stood at the control panel, surrounded by engineers monitoring every system. Ceralia arrived shortly before the test. She did not speak, only observed with sharp, calculating eyes. Liam felt the weight of her gaze, but he refused to let it shake his focus. The starship was more than a machine. It was proof that humans could solve problems and stand shoulder to shoulder with alien civilizations. The test began. Energy surged through the propulsion system, sensors monitored output, and holographic displays tracked efficiency. For a tense moment, the system fluctuated, then stabilized perfectly. Power output exceeded expectations, and energy consumption dropped below predicted levels. Engineers murmured in surprise, disbelief giving way to admiration. Ceralia finally spoke, her voice calm but carrying unmistakable respect. Human, your design works, I will not deny it. Liam allowed himself a small, quiet smile. He did not need more than this. The work had been hard, the humiliation fresh in his mind, but persistence, creativity, and adaptability had won the day. Humanity had made a mark on Zithra, and he had been the one to demonstrate it. As the starship powered down safely, engineers began documenting the modifications and preparing for the Alliance mission. Liam knew there was still much to do, but the first major step had been taken. The spark of respect had been lit, subtle but unmistakable. Humans were no longer merely outsiders. They had proven that they could solve problems, think differently, and contribute meaningfully in a world that had once dismissed them. And though he had achieved this success, Liam's thoughts drifted to the future. Challenges lay ahead, bigger than any he had faced before. The starship would need to travel through unknown regions of space, encounter species unfamiliar and possibly hostile, and perform tasks that required more than just intelligence. They required courage, resilience, and adaptability. Liam Carter had survived humiliation, stood firm against doubt, and shown the potential of humanity. But this was only the beginning. The galaxy was vast, and humans had only just begun to leave their mark. Liam Carter felt the weight of expectation settle on his shoulders like a heavy cloak. The initial success of his human-modified propulsion system had earned him a small measure of respect among Zitharan engineers, but it had also drawn scrutiny from those unwilling to accept that an outsider could outperform centuries of Zitharan knowledge. He knew that praise was fragile and that skepticism lingered in the shadows, waiting for the first sign of failure. The next few days were tense. Liam continued to refine the system, running simulations and coordinating with a growing team of curious engineers who had begun to appreciate human ingenuity. Yet whispers followed him wherever he went, skeptical murmurs from those who considered his methods reckless. Some questioned his understanding of Zitharan physics, while others openly doubted that a human could comprehend the complexity of their starship systems. Liam did not respond to the doubts. He had faced humiliation before, and he knew that arguing would do nothing. The best response was results, and he intended to deliver them. He immersed himself in the work, analyzing energy flow patterns, optimizing stabilization systems, and integrating adaptive controls that could adjust in real time to changing conditions. Princess Cerelia continued to observe, her interest growing despite herself. She rarely interfered, yet her presence was a constant reminder that Liam's efforts were under intense scrutiny. The young human had survived her first judgment, but she was far from convinced of his lasting worth. One morning, as Liam reviewed the latest simulations, an alarm sounded through the academy. A critical error had been detected in the starship's auxiliary energy circuits. The primary propulsion system was stable, but if the auxiliary circuits failed during launch, the entire mission could be jeopardized. Liam's stomach tightened. This was a real test, not a simulation, not a prototype, but a potential crisis that could prove or disprove his abilities in the eyes of the aliens. He ran to the starship docking bay, where engineers were already attempting to diagnose the problem. The system's holographic displays flickered with red warnings. Energy was surging unpredictably, threatening to overload critical circuits. Engineers murmured in panic, some casting doubtful glances at Liam. He ignored them. "Step back," he called, his voice steady but commanding. "Let me analyze the system." Several engineers hesitated, but curiosity won over caution. They watched as Liam activated his diagnostic protocols, overlaying human-calculated adjustments onto the Zitharan systems. The fluctuations in energy became clearer under his analysis, patterns emerging where others had only seen chaos. He adjusted the feedback loops, recalibrated the adaptive controls, and modified the energy distribution to stabilize the circuits. For a tense moment, nothing changed. Then, gradually, the warnings diminished and the auxiliary systems began to operate within safe parameters. Engineers exhaled in relief, some nodding in quiet approval. Liam felt a surge of satisfaction, tempered by the knowledge that the work was far from over. Princess Cerelia appeared at the docking bay entrance, her expression unreadable. She had witnessed Liam's success in stabilizing the auxiliary circuits, but her pride prevented her from showing admiration openly. Instead, she approached him with a measured pace, her eyes sharp and assessing. "You have managed to correct the fluctuations," she said calmly. "Explain your reasoning." Liam walked her through the adjustments. He described how human methods of adaptive feedback, combined with Zitharan energy mapping, allowed the circuits to self-correct in real time. He spoke carefully, aware that any misstep could invite criticism. Cerelia listened, silent and thoughtful. "Your approach is unorthodox," she admitted finally. "Yet it works, I cannot deny that." Liam inclined his head slightly, grateful for the acknowledgement, however small. "I believe that sometimes different perspectives can reveal solutions that tradition overlooks." Her eyes narrowed, not in anger but in contemplation. Perhaps, but tradition exists for a reason. You have succeeded today, human, but one failure and your methods will be dismissed entirely. Liam nodded, understanding the stakes. He had survived humiliation before, and he was prepared to face it again if necessary. But he also knew that humans had a unique ability to adapt under pressure, to learn from mistakes and persevere where others might falter. The next days were spent in preparation for a full-scale launch test. The propulsion system had to perform flawlessly under maximum load, and every engineer was assigned to monitor critical systems. Liam worked tirelessly, coordinating adjustments and ensuring that the adaptive controls were functioning optimally. He slept little, driven by a determination to prove that humans could contribute meaningfully even in an alien world. As the day of the test approached, tension in the docking bay grew palpable. Engineers moved with precision, checking every connection, every circuit, every calibration. Liam stood at the control panel, reviewing the system one final time. He could feel the weight of expectations, not just from the aliens, but from himself. He had to succeed, not for recognition, but to validate the idea that humans could solve complex problems through creativity and perseverance. The launch began smoothly, with the propulsion system humming as energy flowed through the circuits. For a moment, everything seemed perfect. Then, unexpectedly, a surge in the auxiliary circuits triggered an alarm. Engineers gasped as warning lights flashed across the panels. Liam's heart pounded. This was the moment where human ingenuity would be tested against skepticism and crisis alike. He quickly analyzed the surge, tracing it to a minor flaw in one of the Zitharan calibration protocols. Using his human-adapted methods, he adjusted the feedback loops and redistributed energy flow. The surge stabilized, and the starship systems returned to normal. Engineers looked at him with a mix of relief and astonishment. Princess Cerelia stepped forward, her expression unreadable. "Impressive," she said finally, her voice quiet but carrying weight. "You have corrected a critical error in real time. That is not a small achievement." Liam felt a quiet satisfaction. He had faced skepticism, pressure, and the potential for public humiliation, and he had prevailed. Humans were adaptable, resilient, and capable of thinking in ways that even the most advanced alien civilizations could not always predict. Yet not everyone was pleased. A group of senior Zitharan engineers had been openly critical of Liam from the beginning. They whispered among themselves, questioning whether a human had the right to influence such an important mission. Their disapproval was palpable, and Liam knew that these tensions would continue to test his patience and skill. Despite the resistance, he continued refining the propulsion system. Each test, each adjustment, further demonstrated the value of human insight. Engineers who had once doubted him began to observe and learn from his methods, integrating human-style experimentation into their own calculations. Slowly, respect began to replace skepticism, not universal, but enough to shift the perception of humans among the Zitharan engineers. Princess Cerelia continued to watch, her curiosity growing. She rarely spoke to Liam directly, but she studied his work from a distance, noting the way he approached problems with creativity, patience, and unwavering focus. The young human had survived public humiliation, outperformed expectations, and demonstrated that humans could thrive even in a society that considered them outsiders. One evening, as Liam reviewed energy flow simulations, Cerelia approached him quietly. "Human," she said, her tone measured, "you have done well, but do not mistake success for permanence. One failure and your contributions will be dismissed. Can you handle that?" Liam met her gaze steadily. "I am aware, Princess. Humans learn from failure. We adapt. And we persist. That is how we survive and thrive." She studied him for a long moment, then nodded slightly. "Perhaps that is why your kind is worth observing. You are different, resilient. I will admit that I did not expect this." Liam allowed himself a small, quiet smile. Recognition from her was rare, but it was meaningful. It was a sign that humans could earn respect not through force or status, but through ingenuity, perseverance, and courage. The final launch test approached, the culmination of weeks of work. Liam and the team of engineers prepared the starship for the most demanding trial yet. A high-speed journey through simulated interstellar conditions, testing the propulsion system under maximum stress. The docking bay was filled with engineers, technicians, and observers, all watching with anticipation. As the test began, energy flowed smoothly through the modified propulsion system. The starship responded precisely to adjustments, stabilizing itself in response to simulated turbulence and energy fluctuations. Liam monitored the system carefully, making minor tweaks where necessary. For the first time, he felt that human and Zitharan methods were working in harmony. Then, unexpectedly, a critical sensor indicated a potential overload. The system's energy levels spiked dangerously, threatening to trigger a shutdown. Engineers froze, unsure how to respond. Liam's mind raced. This was the true test, not a simulation, not a prototype, but a real-time crisis that could prove the value of human ingenuity. He activated the adaptive protocols, using the human-designed feedback loops to redistribute energy and stabilize the system. The starship shuddered slightly, then resumed steady operation. Engineers exhaled in relief, some nodding in awe. Liam had once again turned potential disaster into success. Princess Cerelia approached, her expression a mixture of scrutiny and admiration. Human, you have managed a crisis that could have ended disastrously. Your methods are effective. I cannot ignore that. Liam bowed slightly. Thank you, Princess. Humans adapt, observe, and learn from mistakes. That is how we succeed. Her eyes narrowed, thoughtful. Perhaps there is more to your kind than I expected. Continue to prove yourself, human. Your work is far from finished. Liam nodded, knowing that the journey ahead would be even more challenging. Skepticism remained, sabotage and resistance could occur, and every new test would bring fresh obstacles. But he had proven one undeniable truth. Human ingenuity, courage, and persistence could stand alongside even the most advanced alien civilizations. And as the starship powered down safely, Liam felt a quiet sense of triumph. He had survived public humiliation, outperformed skeptics, and demonstrated that humans could rise to challenges others considered impossible. The galaxy was vast, full of uncertainty and danger, but humans had the tools and the spirit to face it. The sun rose over Zithara in pale golden light, spilling across the sleek towers of the Academy District. Liam Carter stood in the docking bay, reviewing the propulsion system one more time before the most critical test yet, a full interstellar simulation of the Alliance mission. This was not a simple launch test or isolated subsystem evaluation. The starship would undergo extreme energy fluctuations, simulate rapid travel through different sectors of space, and endure conditions that even the most advanced Zitharan engineers considered dangerous. Liam had spent weeks preparing. Every detail of the human-modified propulsion system had been checked, rechecked, and tested against multiple simulations. Engineers who had once whispered in doubt now worked alongside him openly, some following his instructions carefully, others integrating his human-style adjustments into their own calculations. Respect was growing, subtle but undeniable. Princess Cerelia arrived at the docking bay, her presence commanding immediate attention. She had come early, observing the preparations with her usual sharp gaze. For the first time, Liam noticed a hint of curiosity behind her eyes, a recognition that he had not anticipated. She did not speak, only watched as the engineers activated the starship systems, each panel lighting up in synchronized harmony. "Human," she said finally, her voice carrying over the hum of machinery, "this is the most complex test the ship has faced. One failure could endanger the mission and embarrass the human contingent permanently. Do you understand the stakes?" Liam nodded steadily. "Yes, Princess, I understand completely. I am prepared to ensure the systems function safely and efficiently." She studied him for a long moment, then nodded slightly. "Very well, proceed." The test began. Energy surged through the propulsion system, the hum of the starship rising to a powerful resonance. Holographic displays flickered to life, showing simulated turbulence, energy fluctuations, and environmental variables from distant sectors of space. Liam monitored each readout closely, adjusting adaptive controls as necessary. The human-modified feedback loops worked flawlessly at first, stabilizing minor instabilities and maintaining consistent output. But as the simulation intensified, a sudden surge in energy threatened the auxiliary circuits. Warning lights flashed, alarms echoed through the docking bay, and engineers froze. Liam's heart pounded. This was the moment where human ingenuity would be truly tested. Not simulations, not prototypes, but a full-scale crisis with observers from across Zithra watching every move. He quickly assessed the situation, tracing the surge to a complex interaction between the main and auxiliary energy systems. Conventional Zithran methods suggested shutting down the system partially to prevent overload. Liam, however, knew that such a move could compromise the simulation entirely. Instead, he activated the human-designed adaptive protocols, redistributing energy dynamically and fine-tuning the feedback loops in real time. For several tense seconds, nothing seemed to happen. The hum of the starship shifted, rising and falling unpredictably. Engineers whispered in alarm, some doubting the human approach. Then gradually the system stabilized. Energy flows smoothed, outputs normalized, and the alarms ceased. A collective exhale filled the docking bay. Engineers exchanged astonished glances, some nodding in reluctant admiration. Liam allowed himself a small, steadying breath. Humans had once again solved a problem that others believed could not be handled under pressure. Princess Cerelia stepped closer, her eyes scrutinizing every detail. "Explain your actions," she commanded, her tone calm but firm. Liam walked her through the adjustments, describing how the adaptive feedback loops redistributed energy in response to fluctuations. He detailed how minor modifications to the auxiliary circuits prevented overload while maintaining optimal propulsion output. Every word was carefully chosen, every explanation precise. He knew that this was as much about proving human reasoning as it was about saving the simulation. Cerelia's gaze did not waver. "Your method is unconventional," she said finally. "But the results are undeniable. I will not deny that human ingenuity has a place here." A small, quiet smile touched Liam's lips. Recognition from her carried more weight than applause from any engineer. Yet he knew that the real work was just beginning. The starship would have to endure multiple simulations, each more challenging than the last. Skeptics would be watching, looking for flaws. Every failure, every misstep could erase the respect he had earned so far. The next days were filled with preparation for a series of complex simulations. Liam coordinated a team of engineers, blending human and Zitharan approaches. Together, they analyzed energy flows, tested adaptive controls, and simulated extreme conditions that could occur during actual interstellar travel. Liam taught the engineers to consider alternative perspectives, to experiment cautiously but creatively, and to remain adaptable under pressure. Despite the progress, not all Zitharans were convinced. Some senior engineers continued to whisper doubts, questioning whether a human had the right to influence such a critical mission. They challenged his recommendations, attempting to revert systems to conventional designs. Liam faced their skepticism calmly, presenting data, simulations, and reasoning. Slowly, however, even the most vocal critics began to see the merit of human problem-solving. Princess Cerelia observed quietly throughout this period. She rarely intervened, but she noted the way Liam approached challenges, methodically, creatively, and without fear of failure. He did not seek praise, he sought solutions. This resilience, this ability to persist and adapt under pressure, began to shift her perception of humans in general. One afternoon, as the team prepared for a high-speed simulation, a major complication arose. The starship's energy matrix began to fluctuate unpredictably, threatening to overload the main propulsion system. Alarms blared and engineers froze in panic. Liam's mind raced. This was a critical test of not only his human modifications, but also the team's trust in his methods. He quickly analyzed the situation, tracing the fluctuations to a minor error in one of the energy converters. Using adaptive feedback loops, he recalibrated the system in real time, redistributing power to stabilize the matrix. For several heart-stopping moments, the alarms continued, and the starship shuddered as energy surged through the circuits. Then gradually, the system stabilized, output normalized, and the alarms ceased. Engineers stared at him in awe. Even those who had doubted him could not deny that human ingenuity had once again saved the day. Liam allowed himself a moment of quiet satisfaction, knowing that the combination of human adaptability and Zitharan precision had proven powerful. Princess Cerelia approached, her expression softer than it had ever been. "Human," she said quietly, "your methods, they are effective. I see now that humans can solve problems in ways we did not anticipate. Perhaps there is more to your kind than I understood. Liam inclined his head. Thank you, Princess. Humans adapt, we experiment, and we persist. That is how we succeed. She studied him for a long moment, then nodded. Perhaps I have underestimated your species. Continue to prove yourself. The galaxy is vast, and your work is far from complete. Encouraged by her words, Liam redoubled his efforts. The team ran multiple simulations over the following days, each more complex than the last. They tested the starship under extreme energy surges, rapid acceleration, and simulated interstellar turbulence. Liam's human-modified systems performed flawlessly, adapting dynamically and maintaining stability even under conditions that Zitharans considered impossible. Slowly, the perception of humans among Zitharan engineers began to shift. Skepticism gave way to curiosity, and curiosity to respect. Liam's persistence, ingenuity, and calm under pressure had won over even the most resistant critics. His methods were unconventional, yes, but they were effective, and results spoke louder than tradition. Princess Cerelia observed silently, noting the subtle transformation. The young human had survived humiliation, outperformed expectations, and demonstrated that humans could thrive even in a society that had once dismissed them. Her respect for him was growing, though she did not yet show it openly. As the simulations concluded, the final review meeting was called. Engineers and observers gathered in the docking bay, eager to hear the results. Liam presented the data, explaining the success of the adaptive propulsion system, the stabilization of energy matrices, and the reliability of human-modified feedback loops. The room was silent, the weight of achievement settling over everyone present. Cerelia spoke last. Human, your work has exceeded expectations. You have proven that human ingenuity, adaptability, and perseverance can achieve results even in the most challenging circumstances. I acknowledge your contributions. Liam bowed slightly, a quiet smile on his face. Recognition from her was meaningful, but he knew that the journey was far from over. The starship would soon be tested in actual interstellar travel, encountering real challenges that simulations could not replicate. Yet for now, he allowed himself a moment of quiet triumph. Humans had proven themselves capable, respected, and worthy of consideration in the vast expanse of the galaxy. As the sun set over Zithara, casting silver light across the docking bay, Liam reflected on the journey so far. He had survived humiliation, earned the cautious respect of alien engineers, and demonstrated the unique strengths of humanity. But the galaxy was vast, filled with unknown challenges, and his true test was only beginning. Humans had arrived, and they had made their mark. Liam Carter had shown that courage, creativity, and persistence could overcome doubt, skepticism, and even the most advanced civilizations. The story of human ingenuity on Zithara was only just beginning, and he was determined to see it through, no matter what trials awaited. The day of the interstellar mission had arrived. The starship stood in the docking bay like a gleaming giant, sleek and ready, humming softly as the systems powered up for the final test. A journey through a simulated interstellar route that mirrored the upcoming Alliance mission. Every engineer, technician, and observer was present, including Princess Cerelia, who watched from the elevated control platform with a composed yet scrutinizing gaze. Liam Carter felt a mixture of anticipation and calm determination. Weeks of preparation, countless hours of simulations, and human ingenuity had brought them to this moment. He stood at the main control console, checking systems one last time. The human-modified propulsion system was integrated fully, adaptive controls, operational energy matrices optimized. Every element had been tested, refined, and retested. "Ready for the launch, human?" Cerelia asked, her tone neutral but her eyes betraying a spark of curiosity. "I am ready, Princess," Liam replied, voice steady. He did not seek praise, he sought results. The engineers activated the launch sequence. The starship's engines roared to life, energy flowing smoothly through the systems. Holographic displays tracked performance metrics, simulated obstacles, and environmental variables. At first, everything progressed flawlessly. Liam monitored the systems closely, adjusting minor calibrations to maintain peak efficiency. But as the simulation intensified, unforeseen variables appeared. Energy surges in the auxiliary systems threatened to destabilize the starship, and simulated gravitational anomalies challenged the adaptive controls. Engineers froze, some murmuring doubts. Liam's heart beat faster, but his mind remained clear. This was the true test. Not simulations he had designed, not minor tweaks, but real-time adaptation under pressure. He quickly assessed the problem, tracing the fluctuations to a complex interaction between energy flow and simulated turbulence. Conventional Zitharan solutions suggested partial shutdowns or circuit rerouting, but Liam knew such methods would compromise the simulation and potentially damage the systems. Instead, he activated the human-designed adaptive protocols, redistributing energy dynamically, recalibrating the feedback loops, and stabilizing the matrix in real time. The starship shuddered once, then steadied. Alarms ceased. Engineers exchanged astonished glances, some leaning forward to study the panels, disbelief giving way to admiration. Liam exhaled slowly, his confidence growing. Humans had solved a problem that even advanced Zitharan calculations had struggled with. Princess Cerelia stepped forward, her expression unreadable. "Explain your actions," she demanded. Liam calmly walked her through the adjustments, describing how the adaptive feedback loops redistributed energy in response to turbulence, how minor modifications to auxiliary circuits prevented overload, and how the integrated human Zitharan approach maintained optimal propulsion output. He spoke clearly, deliberately, ensuring every detail was conveyed accurately. Her eyes narrowed in concentration, then softened just slightly. "Your approach is effective. You have proven that human ingenuity, adaptability, and courage can complement even the most advanced systems. I will not deny it." Liam allowed himself a small, steady smile. Recognition from her carried weight, but he did not linger on it. The simulation was still ongoing, and the ship had more challenges ahead. The next phase simulated a rapid jump through multiple sectors of space, including variations in gravitational forces, energy fields, and environmental hazards. The starship responded flawlessly to the adaptive controls, maintaining stability despite conditions that had previously caused concern. Engineers began documenting the performance data, noting the effectiveness of human modifications. Some of the most skeptical voices fell silent, acknowledging quietly that Liam's work had saved the simulation repeatedly. Hours passed as the starship completed the full simulation. When the final metrics were displayed, energy efficiency exceeded Zitharan expectations. Adaptive response times were faster than any previous records, and stability under stress had been flawless. The room erupted in controlled excitement, engineers congratulating one another, some glancing at Liam with newfound respect. Princess Cerelia approached him once more, her expression now betraying a faint hint of admiration. "Human, you have demonstrated what I once doubted. Your contributions have not only stabilized the starship, but proven that humans can think and adapt in ways we did not anticipate. You have earned the respect of Zithara." Liam bowed slightly. "Thank you, Princess. I only sought to ensure the mission's success and show that humans can contribute meaningfully." Her gaze lingered for a moment, thoughtful. "You have done more than that. You have proven that courage, persistence, and ingenuity are not limited by species. I will remember this, and so will Zithara." As the day progressed, engineers prepared the starship for actual deployment. Liam oversaw final system checks, ensuring every adjustment was logged and verified. The human-modified propulsion system was now fully accepted, integrated seamlessly with Zitharan technology. Humans, once underestimated, had proven their worth in a society that had once dismissed them. Despite the success, Liam remained humble. He knew that recognition was fleeting, and the galaxy was full of challenges far greater than simulations or controlled tests. Still, a quiet satisfaction filled him. He had survived humiliation, navigated skepticism, and proven that humans could rise to challenges even in a civilization far older and more advanced than Earth. As the starship prepared to depart for the Interstellar Alliance mission, Liam packed his belongings. He had no desire to linger, to bask in recognition, or to seek favor. His work had been accomplished, his point proven, and now it was time to return home, or at least to continue the journey among the stars. Princess Cerelia approached him one last time before departure. She did not smile, but her eyes carried respect. "Human, your work here will be remembered. You leave Zithara not as a dismissed outsider, but as a valued contributor. I hope your people continue to prove themselves as capable and innovative." Liam nodded. "Thank you, Princess. Humans will not forget the lessons we learned here, nor the opportunities you allowed us to pursue." He walked to the starship, boarding calmly and deliberately. Engineers and observers watched, some bowing slightly in respect, others simply acknowledging his presence with quiet nods. The engines hummed as the ship powered up, energy flowing through the human-modified propulsion system with perfect stability. As the starship lifted off, Liam glanced back once. The palace towers and academy district stretched below him, bathed in the soft light of Zithara's twin suns. He felt a quiet pride not in himself alone, but in the ingenuity, courage, and persistence of humanity. Humans had proven themselves capable, respected, and worthy of standing among the stars. The ship accelerated into space, moving smoothly through orbit and beyond the atmosphere. Liam monitored the systems, noting the flawless operation of the propulsion system, the energy matrices, and the adaptive controls. The success of the mission would be reported throughout the Interstellar Alliance, showcasing the capability of humans to collaborate, innovate, and excel even in alien societies. Hours later, as the starship traveled through the initial stages of the interstellar route, Liam reflected on the journey. He had faced humiliation, doubt, and immense pressure. He had been dismissed publicly, doubted privately, and challenged repeatedly. Yet through it all, human ingenuity, adaptability, and persistence had prevailed. The experience had been more than a test of engineering. It had been a test of courage, humility, and resilience. Princess Ceralia's words echoed in his mind. "You leave Zithara not as a dismissed outsider, but as a valued contributor." The acknowledgement was subtle but powerful. Humans had been underestimated, and now they had proven that even a single individual could make a lasting impact on an advanced civilization. Liam's thoughts turned to the future. The galaxy was vast, full of unexplored worlds, unknown species, and challenges that required more than intellect alone. Humans had the ability to rise to those challenges, to adapt, to create solutions where others saw only obstacles. This mission was just the beginning, a testament to the potential of humanity to thrive among the stars. As the starship glided through space, Liam allowed himself a quiet moment of reflection. He had left Zithara without seeking favor, without lingering for recognition. Yet his work would leave a lasting impression, subtly reshaping how humans were perceived among the stars. They were no longer outsiders, dismissed or underestimated. They were capable, resilient, and intelligent, worthy of respect and capable of remarkable achievements. Hours passed, and the starship's course adjusted smoothly to the next waypoint. Liam monitored systems, ensuring the integrity of the human-modified propulsion system. Everything functioned flawlessly. Engineers on board documented performance data, noting the success of adaptive human-Zitharan collaboration. Even those who had once doubted him now acknowledged the ingenuity and perseverance of the human crew. Princess Ceralia's final observation remained with him. Though she did not smile, her voice carried respect, recognition, and perhaps a subtle admiration that went beyond words. Liam had earned his place, not through arrogance or demand, but through hard work, creativity, and unwavering determination. As the starship traveled deeper into interstellar space, Liam felt a sense of calm fulfillment. The mission would continue, humans would continue to prove themselves, and the galaxy would remember that even among advanced civilizations, a single human mind could make a difference. Liam Carter had left Zithara without looking back, but the impact of his presence would endure. Humanity had made its mark, and he had been the instrument of that proof. The stars stretched ahead, full of opportunity and challenge, and humans were ready to meet them. The starship sailed on, engines humming in perfect harmony. Humans had arrived, they had adapted, they had triumphed, and the galaxy would never underestimate them again.